Hello, I'm Maria Ressa, and this is #PHVote. Today we have with us Senator-elect Nancy Binay. The National Board of Canvassers proclaimed Binay as senator on Thursday, May 16th, along with 5 other candidates. During the election season, she was the brunt of intense criticism and personal attacks online, but Binay still places in the top 6 as of the latest official count. Binay says her first priority as senator will be her campaign platforms, more daycare and feeding centers, and an expanded immunization program. Good day to you. Hello. Thank you for joining us, Nancy. Good morning. You've gone through a rough campaign. Yes. How has it been? What lessons have you learned from this campaign?
But it's not an easy 90-day campaign. It's very difficult because you really have to reach out to your constituents. And it's not a cheap campaign too, especially with that campaign ads, and I think we need to do something about it.
How did you decide what strategy to use? How involved were you in defining who Nancy Binay is?
We did everything by the book. There's a campaign team for me.
Yes.
Basically, it's the same team that worked for my dad during 2010.
And how much of yourself, how much of you was in the campaign?
Oh, at the end of the day, it was a unanimous decision that whatever campaign will be used, it has to be true to what I am. So that's why we ended up doing the Nanay de Pamilya.
You dealt with intense criticism, and particularly online. And the first criticism was that were you competent enough, that you are not competent enough? How do you deal with that?
Kasi, I was raised by my parents that what I know is the truth is what's important. And I know na I am competent. So, parang for me, yung mga batikos na I'm not qualified, I'm not competent, it didn't really matter because I know na I can do this job. And in the first place, I will not run if I know na I can't do the job.
The worst criticism was online. You have social media accounts?
Yes, I have a Twitter account, I have a Facebook account, and Instagram.
And then at a certain point, you stopped on Twitter.
Yes.
How did you deal with that intense online criticism? How did it affect you?
I can't, ano ba yung term doon? Hindi ko dinidibdib. I think that's the best term. Because, if I just concentrate on the negative attacks against me, I think madederail yung campaign strategy ko. So, once in a while, I will read mga comments about me. Yeah, it hurts, but what can I do? That's their opinion. So, parang for me, wala lang.
What did you learn about the social media world?
For me, at some point, there should be some form of self-regulation. Lalo na dun sa generation of my kids, because I think during, my youngest is only 4 years old. But I think by that time, yung scope of social media will be a lot bigger and greater.
This is actually something you now can do something about. You're a legislator. There's a cybercrime law now that's been derailed. Rappler has taken a stance against it. But what kind of legislature do you see would be necessary?
Well, another concern of mine pala is, aside from the negative comments, is
Yeah.
the parody that they started writing.
Correct.
Because, at some point, some people thought that it's the truth.
Yes.
I was just saying, if Inquirer fell to a parody trap, I mean, what more, di ba, the other people. So,
yeah.
I think yun na nga how do we balance regulation and freedom of speech? So I think it's something that we need to talk about in the Senate.
Do you have a position that you want to take, or are you just starting to look at this now?
I'm just starting to, maybe one of these days I'll invite bloggers and the likes to a Senate hearing and get their point of view. Is it a possibility that they will have a self-regulation, or it's really impossible? Because
Hirap nun.
Kasi di ba mainstream media
Yes.
may self-regulation, di ba? So, I don't know pagdating sa social media.
This is interesting because it's something that all countries around the world are dealing with, even the United States,
Yes.
that some kind of regulations or
And
legislation.
it's a gray area for
Absolutely.
for all.
Yeah, brand new. When you're talking about the other attacks, the anyare, that these types of
Yeah,
the parody
the
attacks.
memes.
Yes, yes.
Pero scary yung parody because there was a parody that I got the TPO. And some people thought that, it was the truth when, it's not.
So how did you deal with things like that? How did you deal with them?
Yun na nga, that's another problem. How do you deal with it? Who do you address?
Right.
For example, when Inquirer came out with a editorial about me, they gave, in fairness to them, they gave me a space so I can answer back, right? But when it comes to social media, who do you address it to? Or, may pag pinatulan mo, baka mas grumame pa. So my option was I'll just remain silent and not get bothered about it.
Personally, were you bothered?
No, because I grew up local politics. Local politics, it's more nastier. So parang, I'm used to this. My father became the mayor in 1986. So it's a long time. Sabi ko nga, every election, my family gets attacked. And I thought this year, this 2013 election, because di ba, iba na eh.
Yes.
After 2010, it's supposed to be a different playing field. So I thought during this 2013 campaign, talaga will be based on issues and platforms. But apparently, it's still the same personal attack. So siguro, hindi pa, this is not the right time. Maybe another 10 years or
Sana wag naman
maybe
10 years.
2016.
What did you learn about the Filipino voter? What are they looking for? How did you get them
at
to
the end
vote?
of the day, they're looking for somebody who can really help them.
And how did you convince them you're the right one?
Siguro, well, it helps na I have, my last name is in a way synonymous with service. So, every time I go to the province, the way they look at me is the way they look at my father. So, siguro, I think nakikita nila na I will be bringing in the same kind of service.
But that works for and against you. How do you define yourself separate from your father now?
Parang I can't eh. Siguro, ang magiging ko na lang is I improve the brand. But kumbaga sa soft drinks, I'm still soda, di ba? Siguro different lang. Kumbaga, kung father ko Coke Light, ako siguro Coke Zero.
Do you have any differences with your father in terms of what you believe or in terms of policies that you're going to want to put forward now?
More or less the same. More or less the same. Pero siguro sa akin, mas may innovation because kasi hindi pa siya masyadong in keeping with technology.
In terms of now, you talked about technology. Did social media play a role in these elections?
I think not that much. Not yet.
You were able to turn away from social media during the campaign. Then now you're talking about what we need to do to regulate. You talked about self-regulation. In the future, what do you see? What potential is there in social media?
I think this is the new form of media. Aside, maybe next to TV, it will have a greater scope.
On it. Let me ask you about, again, you've been hit significantly on competencies. What lessons, I guess, what are you taking out of having worked for your father and your mother that will be good for the Senate? What made you think you're qualified for it?
I was my father's eyes and ears on the ground. And at the end of the day, I think number one trait of our leaders should be a good listener. Kasi, how will you know what laws to implement if you don't know what they need on the ground? So I think that's my core strength.
You have a lot of questions coming in. Let me just throw some at you from at Luke Lazatin, following up your core competencies. What can we expect in these next few years from Nancy Binay?
Legislation that would really help our constituents.
What exactly are you, what legislation, what are you more focused on? We talked a little bit about daycare, feeding centers, but what exactly
I would like to focus on children's welfare. Because parang for me, I want the approach to be preventive. Diba? They're the next generation.
Yes.
So at onset, like the 0 to 5-year-old stage, which is the formative years, dapat dun pa lang inaalagaan na natin yung next generation. And I think medyo kulang pa yung projects and policies of our government when it deals with 0 to 5 years old.
Fantastic. Let me ask you another question again. That you became a focal point of this, that brought out something about Filipinos, which is about being dark skinned. Is this we don't seem to be so politically correct. You've been asked about being dark. You've been asked about whether you're going to take glutathione. First of all, how did you react to these? They're actually, by other societies, politically incorrect questions. Are we a racially intolerant society?
Hindi ko, I don't know if it's sa social media lang, because on the ground, I think I became more endearing to them because parang they can see themselves by looking at my color. Parang nagkakaroon ng sense of family. So sabi ko nga, because of my color, I think that's another reason why I placed number 5.
And now the questions that you get and the kinds of memes also, are these something, is this wrong? Is this right? Or
yun na nga because I have to protect their freedom to express what they feel, diba? So it's a gray area.
it's fast. Do you think that being dark or white, is this important in Filipino society? And what does it show?
Well, di ba dapat it shouldn't be? Because at the end of the day, we're all Filipinos regardless of color.
Yes. Tama. Pero nandun. It became one of the issues.
You know, actually, I read an article in Rappler.
Yes.
Na parang, maybe kasi media is promoting yun yung standard of beauty, being white.
Yes.
Sabi ko nga, funny when you go abroad, talaga yung sometimes they would touch my skin and say parang, wow!
Kayo manggi, ang ganda.
Diba?
Yeah.
Kasi di ba yung mga foreigners, they like talagang stay under the sun to get this color.
Correct.
Tapos tayo naman, we take medicines and inject things just to be white. So, at the end of the day, ang bottom line is you just have to be comfortable to whatever color of the skin you have.
Why do you think the Filipino voters chose you? You started your campaign actually very emotional. The stand was ina, anak, kapatid. Tell us a little bit more about how you thought about this campaign and what worked with the voters.
Kasi yung may ina, kapatid,
Yeah.
anak. I mean, that's the real me. I can't deviate from what I am, diba? So I focus on, I guess yun na rin yung, I derive my experience from being a mother, from being a daughter, and from being a sister.
Interesting.
And we're all, at some point, we're all daughter, a sister, and ano ba yung isa? Mother, daughter, and a sister, diba?
Yeah. And actually, it's an emotional. Did you actively look at an emotional pitch to voters?
Siguro incidental.
Because that's really the way
Yes.
you are. Let me throw, there's tons of questions now from at Louis Razon. What is your stand on the Supreme Court TRO on the RH law?
Ako, I would rather not comment because it's already in the Supreme Court, and being equal branches of government, I have to respect whatever decision the Supreme Court will come out with.
But you've taken a position against the RH bill.
Na I'm not for RH.
Not for the RH. And just why? As a
Well, one, I have to be true to myself. I don't practice
Okay.
artificial ano ba yun?
contraception. So
Yeah.
you were
and it worked for me. My kids are properly
spaced.
spaced. And then I don't also believe that government should spend 3 billion to buy contraceptives. You know, that money is better spent on other things.
Interesting. From at Mandy R at Pluma Dictus, question. She's in favor of the national ID system and divorce. She's asking, are you in favor of the national ID system and divorce?
Siguro depende dun sa mechanics of the national ID because I think if you go to other countries, they also have a national ID system.
Yeah.
Maybe yung SSS natin or other government IDs can be used as a similar to that in the United States, right? That they have that SSS.
Yes. What about divorce?
I'm not for divorce.
And the reason why?
I think government should help strengthen families and not, break it apart. Plus, we already have provisions in the Constitution, the annulment.
It's true. Yeah. This is from at Vince Balingan. What are you going to do with the FOI bill and the cybercrime prevention law?
I am for FOI. I believe in transparency. Dun sa cybercrime, I think we need to have one. First, part of my father's job is he is also in charge of the human trafficking.
Yes.
And dun nga sa cyber crime law, it will address yung issue against human trafficking.
Yes.
So in a way, we also need that law.
The book I wrote was looking at both the growth of crime and terrorism online. So it's interesting if that would be addressed. A lot of questions coming in. This one is from if Inquirer fell for parody, what more other people? Can we regulate? You said we have to balance freedom of speech and rights. Can we regulate?
That is the question we need to have answered. Maybe a committee hearing can, a Senate inquiry can, thresh out issues like this.
That would be great. From at Jabibi83, what preparations did you make in case you won?
Before the...
Yeah, I think he or she means... how did you prepare
before the start of the campaign?
Yes.
I didn't have time to prepare because if you remember, I was just a last-minute replacement for Joey De Venecia. He said he's not going to run Friday, and then Monday, the Una senatorial slate filed their candidacy. I ended up filing Friday 4:30 in the afternoon.
Right. The accidental candidate. Did you regret doing this? Now that you've won, you can't regret it.
No, because once I said yes to Congressman Toby, parang that's my commitment. Sabi ko naman I'm willing to sacrifice things if I can help more people.
But are you prepared for the job? What are you going to do to prepare yourself for it?
Now I'm enrolling at the UP-NCPAG. Sabi ko, I'm going back to my alma mater. Syempre, I need to learn the rules, the protocol. And aside from that, I already spoke with Senator Jingoy Estrada and Senator Lauren Legarda. And I'm very thankful because, they can provide me insights that only senators will know.
You mentioned something earlier about the cost of campaigns, and Una has actually said that it just didn't have enough money. What can you do about it now?
Sabi nga ni Congressman Toby Chanco, we had the right medicine, but we lacked the dosage. Kasi lalo na with this yung Supreme Court ruling that allowed 120 minutes per station.
Yes.
I think, that's a lot of money.
120 minutes is 120 million pesos, correct?
That's a lot. Una, I think we need to regulate the cost of placing ads in TV stations. Because at some point, we heard it came out like 600,000 per a 30-second
30-second ad, right? So it's a little more than $1 million per minute. Yeah.
So eventually, only those who can afford can really run a good campaign because I have to admit it, yung ads really played a big role in during this campaign.
Still, 80 to 90% of getting elected, right, will come in. You have so many questions from social media. Most of them. This is from at Josh for Every Young. What key legislation does Nancy Binay plan to sponsor in the Senate?
Anything that pertains with children's welfare.
She mentioned that. This one is from at Pied Piper Girl. You said in UKG a while ago that ang asawang nanakit dapat hiwalayan, and yet you're anti-divorce bill.
Because diba may provision na dun there's legal separation, there's annulment. I think ang nagiging question, it's not affordable. So siguro we can use yung mga public attorneys to help, battered spouses. I was saying nga kanina sa UKG, I think we should make it politically correct, the term, because, pero yun, di ba, husbands are getting beaten up too.
Yes, yes. We now are moving to, this is a different Senate that's come up. Actually, that's my interpretation. Let me ask you, what's different about this Senate? And looking at the lineup now, what do you see?
I think younger, because like Senator Bam Aquino is only 36 years old.
Yes.
I think Grace is only 43, JV is 42. So I think maybe yung keeping up with the times, yung key legislations, more up to date.
But you're all similar, old names, new faces. I mean, what's different about, what will be different? I asked you this about you, yourself, between you and your father. What do you think will be different about this new generation?
Siguro, baka better. My father keeps on saying na my brother daw is a better version of him. Kasi now, like in Makati, he can incorporate technology and things like that.
In your own bailiwick in Makati, though, you didn't top the polls in Makati. What does that show? How do you look at it?
I guess, I really didn't concentrate then campaigning.
Yes.
So that's one probable factor.
Interesting. Let me ask about the structures now of government. What did you think were the main differences between UNA and Team Pinoy? Were there main differences?
Yun na nga medyo there's no clear line, diba? Because like kami sa UNA, we said, we will support the president if we think it's right, and if we feel na there's another way, we will push for that other way.
Interesting. And then now, what's your attitude towards the Aquino government now that you're in the Senate?
Remember, my father is still part of the
Vice President
official family.
Yes.
So, ako, what will help our people, I will support.
Nancy Binay, you're young, you've just walked, you're now a senator. I mean, when you look at all of this, how do you feel? What are you determined to do?
Ako, first, diba, my father told me, I have to prove them wrong. And even at the beginning, yung standard na sinet ko for myself was, I told myself, I have to be the same as my father, or even better. So that's the brand of service that I want to bring in.
There are a ton of questions talking about your family, what you're going to do that may affect your family. This is from Nathan Mumar. Since you belong to a family of political elites, do you admit you've taken advantage of your popular surname? You said this already. She did answer that she looks at it as a positive. What would be your stand against a law that would have denied you a seat in the Senate? Would you support a political dynasty bill that would prevent relatives of politicians running in government?
Not really. Because why would you limit the choice of the voters just because we share the same last name, diba? At the end of the day, what we should ensure is it's a clean and honest election.
With your father part of government, will you be a critical collaborator? I mean, will you continue to collaborate with government, or will you be just critical?
Hindi. Because hindi pwedeng you're always critical, di ba? Because at some point, it's not good for our country. And I think at this point, for me, tapos na yung 2013 election and we have to move on and start working together.
Yes. Then this is, I'm going to wrap up. There's still a lot of social media questions. She is on Twitter, and you're back on Twitter now, right? So,
yes.
So go ahead and ask questions, continue asking questions. This was during the campaign. You also were criticized for not joining any of the debates. What was the thinking behind it?
I told you I was a late entry.
Yes.
And it was a unanimous decision among my campaign team that we will prioritize campaign sorties. So if it's in conflict with the sortie, I will not attend debates or TV guestings. But the sad part, every day, I can attest to this.
Yes.
I'm always available every day for interviews. But it's not my fault that they don't air my opinion or my answer to their questions.
So let me ask you some of your lessons learned. I mean, what picture do you get of Philippine politics firsthand? You are in the middle of it all. How would you describe it today?
Parang it's still the same as when we entered it. Still dirty. And hopefully we can change it.
How?
How? Siguro nga, ano kami, we're the next gen. We've gone through, more than 20 years. So siguro I can start making that change. Sabi ko nga, if you ask me now, it's been asked of me most of the time if I will allow my kids to enter politics.
Yes.
Sabi ko as a mother, if it's the same situation, I will not allow them. As a mother.
Yes.
Because, it can be hurtful. People can be really mean.
Do you see the voter changing? Is the Filipino voter becoming more discerning? Do they see that when you talk about these are attacks meant to manipulate them?
I think kulang pa din yung we still need to educate our voters. If you remember with this election, I read in your there's in ARM,
Yes.
there's still like 70% na 100%
turnout.
turnout. So I think it's still a long way to go.
I guess, did you see any change at all? I mean, you've been doing campaigns for a long time with your dad. Did anything change?
Well, yung medium, nag-change na.
Like, can you explain more what that means?
I think kami, we followed yung grassroots way of campaigning, diba?
Yes.
But Team Pinoy, I think they focused on TV, radio.
And what role does media play? Did media play?
Oh, I think a lot.
Is that something that you see changing in the
Kasi
future?
it helps yung media exposure.
Yes.
Really helps.
The survey said that 80 to 90% of awareness comes from television. Do you believe that? Is that going to change anytime soon?
If we don't change that yung placement of campaign ads, I guess it will still be the same.
Are you ready to go up against the TV stations?
If that's the only way we can change the system, why not?
Okay, fantastic. Your last thoughts. This is going to be you're just starting the next phase.
I guess first I want to thank everybody who supported my run, and then ang call ko dun sa mga detractors ko na let's all move on and work together. Let's use social media to parang help make a better Philippines.
Can I say one last question, and this is a note. The Binay brand, the Binay name, these elections are also seen as a preamble for 2016. What did it show in terms of the Binay name? And then the second one is Grace Poe was the other surprise. Do we see Grace Poe versus Binay coming up?
That I do not know. Pero I think yun na nga na I think this is a validation that they appreciate the service that my family brings to them. Pero yung 2016, sabi ko nga, ayoko muna isipin yung 2016 kasi yung mga detractors namin will not stop. So parang ako, we just finished an election where nagkaroon ng division, di ba? So kalimutan muna natin yon, and let's start working. We need to do a lot of things, yung unemployment rate, yung poverty rate. 2016 is still 3 years from now, so wag muna.
So what do we expect for Nancy Binay now moving forward?
Ako work. Kasi sabi ko yung having the Binay last name is both a blessing and a challenge. Blessing because it made me win, but challenge because I have to live up to that name that my father started. Sabi nga, when I was a young child, he keeps on repeating, and sa amin magkakapatid na, yan lang yung pinakamahalagang mapapamana ko sa inyo, yung apelidong Binay. So wag yung sisirain yan. So yun yung level that I have to parang yun yung standard na sinet ko for myself.
But Nancy, what makes you a different Binay? And how are you going to show Filipinos that?
I guess makikita na lang nila this coming years yung how different I am.
Okay, thank you so much. We've been speaking with Nancy Binay. She is a new senator in the Republic of the Philippines. She is on Twitter, on Instagram, and on Facebook,
Yes.
correct? And she knows what you're doing online, so so be nice. Anyway, thank you for joining us for #PHVote. I'm Maria Ressa. See you soon. Thank you. I just threw the whole book at you.